guys! Welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name's Kaylee. In today's video, I'm going to be testing out the new foundation from Huda Beauty, their Easy Blur Natural Airbrush Foundation. Super excited to be testing this one out. It's been out for probably like 2 months now, so I'm finally getting around to testing it out. I will be doing a 2-day wear test. In the past, I've only done 1-day wear test, but I feel like a 2-day wear test is, or even more days, is definitely a better way to test out a foundation, just because there's definitely been times where I've loved a foundation the first time I wore it and then didn't the second time, or vice versa. I didn't like it as much the first time and I liked it the next time wearing it. It can definitely be dependent on how you're prepping your skin, what different products you're using with the foundation. So it definitely makes sense to test it more than 1 day. So that's what we'll be doing. So I have 2 shades in the foundation here. I have Chai, which is 210B, and then Shortbread, which is 200B. So the Chai is a little bit darker. I think I'm going to use Chai today just because I have a little bit of leftover tan, so I feel like that one will match better, but I feel like Shortbread will definitely match with my more natural skin tone. So this foundation does value for $50, which I think is pretty reasonable for foundations these days. A lot are like over $60, $70, so reasonably priced. It's also said to be a medium buildable coverage. It's meant to feel lightweight on the skin. It also claims to be non-comedogenic, so if you do have acne prone skin, it should work with your skin. And then of course the finish is meant to be ultra blurring, so it gives you that like flawless airbrushed blurred sort of look. So sounds like my perfect foundation, so looking forward to seeing how this works on my skin. I do have combination skin and I do deal with breakouts as well, so it honestly sounds perfect for my skin type. And then of course for the first day I'm going to be pairing it with their primer. I feel like that makes sense. They're supposed to be paired together. So it's their Easy Blur primer. This one values for $40, so again I think that's pretty reasonable for a primer. It's also meant to be non-comedogenic and it claims to control oils, and of course it's going to give that blurred airbrush look to the skin. So they sound like the perfect duo. And then I am going to set it with Huda Beauty's Easy Bake setting powder. I have it in the I have it in the shade Cherry Blossom Cake. I feel like just makes sense to be pairing these together. Let's get started with the try-ons. I've done my skincare and I did finish off with my sunscreen. I used the Hero Cosmetics sunscreen, my all-time favorite, and that's been sitting on my face. I would say I put it on maybe like 15 minutes ago, so it's all settled into my skin. And then of course we're gonna start off with the primer. I have not tried this at all yet, so I'm curious. I don't usually use primers. You guys know I'm not a fan of them. I usually just prime with my sunscreen, so I am curious to see how this is on the skin. Kind of has a, I should have showed you how it looks, but it has like a clear pinky sort of color to it. Feels really nice. Kind of feels similar to the Milk, what's that primer called? The Hydro Grip primer, but I think a little less sticky. Just gonna let that sit on my face for a minute or so, just so it absorbs into the skin. Okay, then let's go in with our foundation. So like I said, I'm gonna use the shade Chai. Just gonna put a little bit on my palette here. I'm gonna just start off with a little bit. I always like go in with too much foundation on my palette and end up wasting so much. So just gonna start off with a little bit now, and I'm actually gonna be blending it out with Huda Beauty's foundation brush. I haven't tried this at all yet. I usually use a sponge to do my foundation, but again, it just feels right to be using this with this foundation. So let's go in. It's a nice brush. I like the texture of it. It kind of like is more dense than some foundation brushes these days. Okay, so I did use all that up just on the center of my face. So it's definitely, I feel like, has a bit of a thinner texture. So I can see how it can be considered lightweight because it doesn't feel like, or it doesn't look or feel heavy or thick. I can definitely see this feeling lightweight on the skin. Almost like has the texture of a skin tint, you know? I actually am liking how this looks so far. It's barely been on my skin, but I'm like, okay. I feel like there's a little bit of dewiness to it. This is how it's looking so far on the skin. Let me know what you guys think. So far, I think I like it. I think the shade's pretty good for where my skin's at right now. It might be a little darker, so I'm thinking this might work when I have a proper coat of self tanner on. But so far the texture, I think I'm kind of liking it. I'm gonna go in with another layer just to build it up, see how it builds up. See if it gets like cakey or anything on the skin. And I'm gonna just focus that on the areas where I tend to like a little more coverage. I wish I had the concealer to try out with this. I'm thinking of maybe doing a video using a full face of Huda Beauty products because I love the brand. I think they're great. I feel like they have such nice products and I've never really used anything from them that I haven't liked, but there still is a lot of products that I haven't used from the brand. So maybe that will be a future video. And I never go in with a foundation under my eyes. I just go in with concealer. I think that is better, especially if you do have fine lines under the eyes. It's better to go in with less product. So won't be putting it under the eyes. So here is what the foundation is looking like I have the primer and just the foundation on. And honestly, I'm kind of liking how it looks right now. Let me know what you guys think. But so far, yeah, easy to blend. It feels lightweight. It seems to have decent coverage. It does seem to be a buildable medium coverage. It also has almost like a nice glow to the skin, but without accentuating any texture. I feel like it's definitely kind of smoothed my skin a bit. So far I am liking it and I like how it feels on the skin. So I'm gonna go ahead and just finish the rest of my makeup off camera. And I'll check back in with you guys once I've done that. Okay guys, here is my makeup all finished. I've got to say, I am loving how this foundation is looking on my skin so far. Let me know what you guys think, but I feel like it's really smooth and blurred my skin. As someone that does have quite textured skin, I honestly feel like this really has smoothed out my skin. So I can already say if you do have textured skin or you deal with acne, I feel like this is definitely worth trying out. I love how it feels on the skin. It does feel lightweight, but it has really nice coverage. I barely went in with any concealer and I feel like I still have enough coverage. Usually I go in with more concealer, but I really didn't feel like I needed to with this foundation. So good coverage, it blurs, it smooths, it feels really lightweight. I did blend it with the Huda Beauty foundation brush and I really like how this blended it out. It's very like dense and like thick, and I feel like that really helped it blend out nicely. I did try to go in with my Real Technique sponge to blend out my concealer, but it started kind of lifting product. So I blended my concealer with this as well, and I feel like it just really blended everything in nicely together. So big fan of this brush so far. I'm not usually a brush girl, so I wasn't sure how I was gonna like it, but I do really like this. I think it blended the foundation really nicely. Not sure about the primer. That will be something I'm gonna test over time, but so far the foundation, honestly, I'm really liking. But of course, I'm gonna leave it on for the rest of the day. It's about 10 a.m. now, so I'm gonna check back in with you guys like right before I wash it off so I can leave it on as long as possible. Will probably be about like 9 to 10 hours. That's how long I would usually wear my makeup. So gonna give it a good long test, see how it wears throughout the day, and I will check back in with you guys later on. It's almost 8 o'clock at night. This is what my makeup is looking like. I'm honestly really impressed with this foundation. I love how it looks on my skin still after being on my skin for like, what? Is that like 8 or 9 hours? I think it held up really nicely. It did come off my forehead a little bit, but I was wearing a beanie. I feel like I didn't properly set my forehead with enough powder. But besides that, everywhere else on my face, I think it still looks really nice. It hasn't moved anywhere. I've gone outside, I've gone for walks, I've been cooking, so I've been doing things and it still stayed really nicely on my face. I feel like it hasn't gotten like patchy or anything. I usually get patchy around my chin. And I don't think it looks patchy at all. Let me know what you guys think. But I think it still looks really smooth. I love that it looks like skin on the face. Like it doesn't look heavy or like I'm wearing a heap of makeup. It looks kind of like Your Skin But Better, and I love that look. So as of right now, I really like this foundation, but tomorrow we're gonna play around with different products, do a different process, and see if it looks any different or if it still works well with my other products. So yeah, so far, really happy with it. 10 out of 10, honestly. I would wear this foundation on a daily basis. It definitely feels like a foundation you could wear on a daily basis, like to work, and it not feel heavy or greasy or sweaty at the end of the day. So yeah, 10 out of 10 so far, but I will see you guys for day 2 to see how it holds up then. It's day 2 of trying out the Huda Beauty foundation. So today I'm not gonna go in with the primer. I've prepped my skin the same way I always do, and I always just finish with my sunscreen. I use the Hero Cosmetics Super Shield Super Light Sunscreen. So I've put that on. It's been about 10 minutes. I usually wait 10 to 15 minutes before doing my makeup. So I'm gonna go straight in with the foundation. Today I think I'm gonna use the lighter shade that I got just because my skin's basically back to its natural color. So the lighter shade again is Shortbread. I'm gonna go in with that one. And today, instead of using the brush to blend, I really liked how that brush blended the foundation, but I am curious to see how it blends with a sponge. So I'm just gonna go in with my Real Technique sponge. And let's see. I usually do use a sponge when I do my foundation, even like my concealer and my powder, I always use a sponge. I'm not really a brush person. I try to go in with a brush, but I don't know. I think I just like the convenience of the sponge kind of being able to do everything. And I just find that it blends a little better for me personally, but I was a fan of how the brush blended this foundation. So we will see. I think so far it's blending pretty nicely. I'm gonna go in with a little more. I do find myself having to go in with a little more of this foundation than I do other foundations. I think this definitely has a very thin consistency, and I find with thinner foundations, I find that I usually need to go in with a little bit more of the product, but that's fine. I'm gonna build up the coverage like I did with the brush as well. I do like this color. I think this color definitely, I think it suits my natural color. I am curious because I have heard people say that, I mean, obviously that's why they were kind of launched together, the primer and the foundation. I've heard people say that like you need to use a primer with it. And I mean, I do like how it looked with the primer, but I am curious to see what actually does make a difference, because I've said before, I don't really like primers. I never feel like they make a difference with my skin. I just feel like I end up having too much product on my face and my makeup kind of separates when I have primer. But I liked how that primer looked. I'm just curious to see if it's gonna be really different. Okay, so that's all blended out. I'll get nice and close so you guys can see. I think it looks pretty similar to what it did the first day. Let me know if you guys can see a difference. Still has that nice natural glow. I don't see it separating or accentuating any texture, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. So I'm just gonna go ahead again and finish the rest of my makeup and check back in after. Okay, here's my makeup all finished. What do you guys think? I honestly don't see a whole lot of difference compared to day 1. Maybe I'll put a little side by side so that you can compare to day 1, but as of right now, I honestly don't see a whole lot of difference in my makeup. I still think my skin has that Your Skin But Better look. I probably could have gone in with a little bit more coverage on my blemishes. I think on day 1 I did go in with more coverage, so I do still think the foundation has nice buildable coverage. I like having the option to have lighter coverage or go in with a little bit more. So I like that it's a buildable coverage. I like that it gives your skin that Your Skin But Better look. It doesn't feel heavy, it doesn't look heavy or cakey on the skin. I really love how it does smooth the skin, but in a very like natural way. I also think that it blends just as nice with a Real Technique sponge or a beauty blender as what it did with the foundation brush. And yeah, overall, I just really think my makeup looks very similar to what it did with the primer. So as much as I did really like that primer, I do think my makeup looked really nice with it. At the moment, I don't think the primer is absolutely necessary. But of course, the real test will be how my makeup holds up throughout the day, because of course, primers are meant to help your makeup last longer. So we'll see if the primer does make a difference to the longevity of this foundation. But I'll of course leave this on my face for the rest of the day. It'll probably again be like 8 to 10 hours, and I'll check back in with you guys later on and we will see how my makeup held up without the primer. Okay guys, my makeup has been on my face for just about 10 hours now, and I honestly feel like it's not looking much different to what it did when I first put it on this morning. I am really impressed with this foundation. I can definitely see this becoming like an everyday foundation for me. Honestly, there's not really anything I don't like about it. It's lightweight, it feels lightweight, it doesn't look cakey, it has enough coverage, makes the skin look smooth, and it's long lasting, doesn't go patchy or anything on my skin, which tends to be an issue that I do have with some foundations. So yeah, I am really impressed with this foundation. I am going to continue using the primer just because I do like how it looks with the primer, but like I said, I don't think the primer is absolutely necessary. I think that this foundation is great just by itself. So I 100% will continue wearing this foundation. I highly recommend trying it if you haven't. If you have combination acne prone skin, textured skin, I think you will really like this foundation. It applies beautifully with either a brush or a sponge, and yeah, I honestly am just really impressed with this foundation. It was definitely worth doing the 2-day wear test so I could see how it worked with different products. So yeah, honestly, 10 out of 10. Highly recommend trying the Huda Beauty foundation if you haven't. But that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if there's any foundations you would like me to try next time. I would love to hear some suggestions. But as always, thank you so much for being here and watching this video. I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!